Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. This is episode 275. And of course, this is the official video games podcast of W2M Network, of the W2M Network and W2Mnet.com. And of course, also with Last Word on Gaming. And here with us today, as always, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
I'm your host, Sean Garman, here on video. The first time ever. Jens Dietrich, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. Pleasure to be
here. And joining us here for the first time from the Backlog Banter, Tucker Hazel. How are you, sir?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. I'm very happy to be joining you guys.
Well, it's awesome to have you here, man. So, you know, I saw that you did a Sin and Punishment video with your co-host and having John Cartwright on. That's pretty cool, man.
That was crazy being able to have that big of a guest on our show.
Yeah, but I mean, that's one of those games that, like, I know from when it was on like the Wii eShop or Virtual Console.
Yeah,
and they made a big deal about it, and then I was like, man, I want to play that, and then of course Wii Virtual Console disappeared, and so how did you Did you already have it or?
Oh, I played the game on the Wii U Virtual Console,
okay.
And it's not very long. I picked it up; it's like $11 on there or something, and I played through it probably just 2.5 hours, a little less. It's a very short game, a lot of replay value. But just in preparation for that discussion, and I also played Star Fox 64 for the first time to completion for the same video, just so I would have a little bit of context for that on-rail shooter genre from the N64.
That's a better game.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I do like Star Fox 64 quite a bit. I think they're both very good. They have their pros and cons. The production value of Sin and Punishment is absolutely off the charts. Like it could easily be like a PS1 game, but it's on the N64. But that's beside the point.
Well, I mean, still the best Star Fox game. So
it's the only one I've played, so I couldn't really attest to any of the others.
They're all bad after and before. So
Super Nintendo one's okay, but then after that,
the Super Nintendo one operates at like 10 frames a second, so that's the problem with that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, for the time, it was cool, you know.
Well, for the time, it was competing with X-Wing and TIE Fighter for me. So,
yeah, I mean, that's the power of a computer compared to Super Nintendo. So, I mean, that's it's hard to compare, but like, so you know, for people who you know, we're not like some you know, big podcasts or whatever, so we're probably around the same level, but I'm sure there's people that don't know, you know, people that are watching that are fans of you who have no idea who we are, and probably likewise. I mean, so like, just introduce yourself, Tucker, like tell us about your show.
Sure. I run a YouTube channel with my friends called Backlog Banter. Holy moly. And I make a lot of YouTube videos about video games and movie reviews, things like that, just along with my friends. And if you want to tune in on there, we've got plenty of videos going up every week, including our show that is reviewing all of the Oscar Best Picture winners and ranking them, which is a long process, but it's very fun. And yeah, just lots of random video game related topics and such.
So sorry, we have a puppy bulldog pit bull that loves my daughter too much, and she is pestering the crap out of her. So I apologize if you're hearing screaming. That's what that is. So and nothing's wrong with her. She just gets very frustrated at the dog that apparently she's a baby still. She doesn't understand that, hey, I love you too, but leave me alone. So yeah, I mean, I bet that is a daunting thing to go through all the Best Picture winners. I saw y'all just did the Lord of the Rings.
Yes, we did. Our review of Return of the King went up yesterday, and today we did a discussion of all three of the movies, sort of in a general discussion.
So which one do you like the most?
My personal favorite is Fellowship of the Ring. I don't know if that's an uncommon opinion. A lot of people really like Return of the King, but I just like the character interaction, the charming nature of that first movie. Getting introduced to the characters is really fun. And honestly, I'm not a huge fantasy battle guy, and the last two movies really lean heavily into that, so that's not really for me.
I think I appreciated Fellowship for being the one that's closest to the events of the book.
Sure.
Like once you get to Two Towers, it starts deviating, and Jackson starts having some missteps in the adaptation, whereas in Fellowship, everything was still like close to perfect the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
That piece of music that ends that film, The Breaking of the Fellowship, one of the best pieces of film music I've ever heard in my life.
I don't quite remember that one, but I can totally look it up, and I'm sure it'll click right as soon as I press play on that YouTube video.
Yep.
Mark, you have a favorite of the three?
Yeah, first one. I mean, the third one's good also, but it's really long.
Return of the King is great. Director's cut especially, once you've got the Saruman scene in there.
And no one gives a damn about the second one.
I don't know. I feel like the second one is a lot of people's favorites just because of Helm's Deep.
Yeah. The second one's a lot of people's favorite because it's just like one big long battle, that goes on through a lot of the movie. And so, I mean, like, I think for me, so, like, I have, sorry, I have daughter coming in and talking to me. So, when you have kids, sometimes you can't just stop everything all the time. So,
That's
I mean,
tranquilizer gun is for.
Okay, we're going there.
But anyway, like, my memory of Return of the King is watching it in a theater, and they had the 7 different times that it ends, and I'm holding it the whole time I need to go to the bathroom, and I'm just like, oh my god, end the movie. Oh no, it keeps going. Oh no, end the movie.
Dude, you were still spared. You were spared. There's a whole other ending. The book, you're still spared the Scouring of the Shire. There's a whole other epilogue chapter in the book that you don't even get in the Return of the King movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like that movie the most out of all of them, just as a movie. I don't have like a ton of reference from the books and everything. Like one just kind of I appreciated it, but it also was, when you're watching the other two, was kind of slow for me. And I think it was in high school, so my tolerance for things that are less actiony was not, like when you're older, you kind of have this understanding, okay, not every movie is
right. It was competing with The Mummy Returns. We understand.
Yeah, all that exactly, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, but let's go ahead and talk about what is.
Dude, Where's My Car was out at the same time.
Man, I know I laughed a lot at that movie. That movie was terrible, but whatever. But yeah, so before we get started, there is a lot going on between the last time we did a show, which was on a Sunday of last week, to doing it on Tuesday, which we moved it all the way to Tuesday because of that's the day that worked out for Tucker. So apologize for having to make y'all wait a couple of days longer than normal. But what is everybody? We have a lot to get to. Anything that you have been playing? I mean, Tucker, anything besides the 2 games you mentioned?
Not particularly. Those were the ones I focused on. I'm currently back at home, sort of for a little vacation. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, but I'm back home in Austin, Texas right now, and I've got my roommate with me. We're just having a good time. So video games have not been my focus, playing them at least. I've been keeping up with the news for most certainly, so I can certainly keep talking about that. But I've not really been playing a ton of stuff. That's
fair. We all had those moments where we don't. It's impossible to keep up with everything, especially with Game Pass now. It feels like there's stuff coming out all the time, and then there's also the new releases and everything else. Yeah. So you're always going to have weeks where you can't keep up with stuff, and so I've been doing the same kind of. It's apparently me and Jens have been playing the same game here, so it'd be cool to actually get somebody else's thoughts on this, because I've been enjoying the Wild at Heart a lot.
I'm not that deep into it, but I picked it up on your recommendation because I saw you tweet about how you couldn't stop thinking about it. Yeah, and I saw it was on Game Pass, and I just I mean, the art style is what has hooked me more than anything. It's just so pretty to look at.
That's exactly what makes me think about it, is that I really like the art style. I like how just relaxing the music is, and just the game itself is not, it's very relaxing itself. Like, it's not this hectic thing that you got to worry about. Like, there is a little bit of a survival element to it, which I don't know if you got to that point where they talk about the darkness being bad.
No, actually, I get it super early.
And okay, so there's like an actual element where you do have to pay attention to the actual night and day, because when it gets to nighttime, things do happen. So,
but so far all the systems have been really light and friendly, so I expect that that's not going to necessarily change, even when I have to deal with a little bit of survival.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of friendly elements. I love the little fairy things that are there to help you. They're kind of like, they remind me of like the Higgledies from the Ni no Kuni 2, that like just help you. They help you do everything.
Unheaded things. Yeah, I enjoy just throwing them around to do tasks. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the little the characters, the old the grandfather and the other
the old wizard.
Yeah, the old wizard, gray coat and Scrap Heap. It's like, okay, let's just come up with some fun names for these characters. I appreciate that they just went full bore with it. Yeah, I just been really just, it's been a cool game to just enjoy. And now they added it on cloud as well today. So now it's on all 3 versions of Game Pass, which also means you can play it on your browser if you have an older computer, or you're using an iOS device. But I played it on PC and console. It works great. It is optimized for Series X as well, if you care about that kind of stuff. And I played that Scarlet Nexus demo, which I know you were not the biggest fan of, Jens, but
I tried it again, and I get to the point where you're using the duplicate power, and I just check out.
Why just?
I don't know, because it's just you keep running. It's like okay, I'm supposed to duplicate these objects, but then I'm also constantly out of energy. Focused on dodging the thing. I don't know. It still doesn't click for me, man.
There's too much going on for you?
I don't know. It's not that it's too much. It's just there's something about, maybe I just don't like the psychic mechanics of it, the picking objects up and throwing them aspect of it.
Oh man, we have 2 different perspectives on that. I appreciate that.
Sure.
It's cool, because like I love the fact that you have the option to do the psychokinesis and throw stuff, and then also I love the fact that there's the smaller objects and there's the bigger ones that just do like this insane amount of damage as well. Now, I don't know if all the boss battles are going to be like this, where there's a set piece, obviously, that you're trying to get them to. Both the boss battles have this, whether you play with Kasane or Uto. Kasane is the more psychokinesis, like knives girl, and then Uto has a sword. So there's a bit more close combat there.
Is he more than just a close-up version of her? It just seems like she's got more ranged, almost like Velvet Golden Spear kind of attack.
She has the knife attack, and it's more a bit longer range. And she has the sneak ability too, where he doesn't have that. His is much more use the sword, just attack. She has electric power. He has fire power. And then he has teleportation. So his is more like he's trying to be like a fast ninja. Like, so you can teleport constantly. You keep pressing the whatever your button is, which I'm playing on Xbox, so it's on the X, or not the X, the Y, whatever the top button is. And so so you'll keep pressing that
yellow, I guess,
and he'll teleport through. And then he also has like another ability, which is called like it's almost like an incognito ability, where he can see because there's these like ninja enemies that show up that have like look like they're plants, and you can't see them. But then when you turn on the incognito ability, you can see them, and then you hit them, and they show up, and you don't have to keep the ability going. So
okay, so it's not like I feel like with the super fast enemies where you have to do hyperspeed, like it just was a matter of, okay, I can't fight these guys right now because I'm recharging, so I'm just going to stand around for a few seconds while the ability recharges, and then I can fight them again. They're just things like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just the flow of the game is not clicking with me.
Yeah,
I know that if you're stringing everything together and budgeting all your abilities correctly, that you could probably do some pretty cool shit.
Yeah, I definitely feel like they spent a lot more time figuring now. Obviously, this is a demo, right? Like, there's still, I'm assuming it's gone gold by this point, because the game comes out in less than a month. It comes out in 25th of June. But like, they're still working on stuff. There's going to be a patch, a day one patch, and all that. I'm sure. Like, it feels like they did a lot more work on Utio than they did on Kasane as far as making their powers cohesive in that demo, because I agree with you. That whole thing where you have to speed her up to fight the flying enemies that are supposedly way too fast for you, and then also using that sneak ability with those plant things that keep going in the box, like, it got a little bit annoying, whereas with Yutio's abilities, I can feel like that all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all those enemies make sense. Like, each one of them.
I just always, when we played the girl, I didn't even try him.
Yeah, no, I think you might enjoy him more if you play with him, because all his abilities make sense, and all the enemies that show up, they all have their counter to them. So where there's no waiting around with like the girl. So,
but I still think it's a pretty impressive game. I mean, in terms of presentation and whatnot, they've stepped it up.
Oh yeah. It definitely looks. I mean, it looks great. Being made for, it's not a Series X exclusive, but it's made for the next gen systems, and it looks great. And obviously nobody has an anime out because it looks like an anime. So I mean, I'm excited to actually play it.
I mean, I don't know what the PlayStation version. I just remember Code Vein not running as well on PlayStation as it did on Xbox. So maybe we're just getting. I mean, the demo was Xbox only, so I don't know if we're getting the full view of things. But it was really impressive.
Yeah, definitely.
Performance-wise, like no dips or anything.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with that either. So but I mean, I really appreciate that demo. I'm glad Ben and Namco did that. I think more games should give you demos to be able to try out their stuff. Mark, I just literally sent you a code for Guilty Gear Strive, so I know you have not played that at all. So what have you I got a surprise code the night of release for Shin Megami Tensei III Nocturne. I know you really like that game from playing it back in the day. Any changes at all from?
Yeah, the DLC breaks the game.
Well, as with the Persona 5 DLC, as with all of the Atlas DLC, where it's giving you stuff that just makes it way easier, right?
I mean, more so. Yeah.
More so than here's a level 90 demon that you can use from the beginning of the game.
Kind of, because you get infinite money also.
Oh, well, that always helps.
Okay, well. That's nice, because that was a hard game.
Yeah, you can basically farm experience points and money, like, forever if you really want to. So I'm like level 71 right now, and I'm not halfway through the game.
That's right.
Dang.
But that doesn't help you as much as you might think, because you can still get like knocked out by like low-level insta-kill spells.
This game, the game loves to insta-kill you.
Yeah. And some of the dungeons in that game are like fucking hard. Like I just did the one with the cubes, like. And I'm following this guy, and it got to like step 40, and I'm like, "What is going on?" Like, you have to like rotate these cubes to make a path to like to go up, but it's like, this is insane. Like, I can't believe this was like valid in 2004.
I'm surprised they didn't do any kind of quality of life changes to it at all. Or...
The only thing they did, which is actually very welcome, is before Persona abilities were randomized. Now you can just pick whatever you want from both,
When you do fusion.
Yeah.
Yes. So it no longer random rolls your ability, which ones get inherited.
Yeah, so you don't have to sit there for an hour getting the two that you might need.
That's just something that we've come to expect from Persona games that I guess is like the one innovation that they allowed themselves to bring back in.
Yeah.
Other than, trivializing it with the DLC.
Yeah, they also added voice acting, which is, I mean, not great, but it's fine.
It seems to be Persona. I mean, it's what you expect.
Yeah. I mean, there's not
It
a lot of
reminds me of
characters
the
in the
voice
game,
acting. It reminds me of the Persona 3 voice acting. The style of it.
There's not a ton of characters. Like, this is a pretty solitary game compared to like a regular Persona game. Mm-hmm. So, like, you might see your like schoolmates like every once in a while. But that's about it. So they have like voice acting for like certain bosses, and it's like, did Fornius really need voice actor for like all the 4 lines he says.
See, I think that's great. I think I love that they got one dude just for that role. But what I don't like so much, and I guess this is the problem with adding voice acting to that game, is that's a game where you can name every character.
Yeah, they just say like, "Oh, the teacher."
Yes, exactly. So the voice acting now never matches the dialogue that's written, and I always find that very disorienting. Or well, not disorienting. It's just distracting, you know.
Yeah, so, that's what they. I mean, it's better than what they do in Far Cry when they just call you like the deputy.
I don't know. It's not like a character in Far Cry matters. It's not Persona or Shin Megami. I guess kind of in 3 and 4.
Yeah. I beat Dante once already. That was a fun fight. Since I was like 40 levels higher than him.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sure, that's nice to be able to be that far.
You're not playing with the Devil Summoner? You're not playing with
hell no.
That's
that was a pretty early fight too. It just like went to black and then didn't come back to like the main menu. And I'm like,
what? Right, I know you had one crash that lost you like a half hour of.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I'm like, all right, neat. But yeah, the game's still cool, and I will finish it. But the trophies are insane because you have to get every stupid ending.
Okay, sorry about that. So
all right.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sorry, Tucker. I meant to like cut them off at one point to ask if you were Persona or Shin Megami Tensei guy at all older.
No, I have only played Persona 5, and that's how a lot of modern people have come to the series. But I thought that was a pretty good game. I beat it, but something about the palaces just didn't do it for me. So I really don't have any interest in trying other games in the series. Plus, there's just so much to play. Games that are that long, I don't know. That's not really my forte.
If you didn't like the palaces in Persona 5, you would hate Nocturne.
I'm sure.
They're real old-fashioned mazes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whereas I actually think if you went back to Persona 4 has better dungeons than 5.
Well, they're all randomized, though, also.
Interesting.
I mean, they're lightly randomized. You still get the same components over and over.
Yeah, but Persona 5, like, that is the dungeons are
yeah, they're designed.
Yeah.
But, normally I prefer a designed dungeon to a, partially randomized dungeon, but I think in Persona 5 they went out of their way to make really dumb puzzle dungeons.
Well, the randomized one is Mementos, so...
True. Well, yeah, yeah, sure. But Mementos also doesn't freaking matter. You're driving through most of the monsters most of the time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes this rote thing where you're just barely even paying attention to what you're doing in the Mementos. At least for me, it was that way.
Yeah. So, anything else, Mark, before we...
I bought a copy of Einhander.
Oh, Lord.
One of the few good Square games ever made.
What possessed you to buy that? Just see it in the store?
Cool.
Okay.
It's one of the few shooters I actually like that type of shooter. And yeah, a store had it for $200, which is better than $300.
Never played it. No, but when I think of Einhander, I think of like a sword. I don't think of is this a shoot 'em up flying game?
Yep.
It's called Einhander. Okay. I just always when you say that word, I just think of like a knight holding a big, a sword that you can hold one-handed. So
yeah, that's something I'm entirely not familiar with. I can look it up and find out what even kind of gameplay and stuff is.
Yeah, it was like a 98 shoot 'em up, but it's like it has some it's mainly horizontal, but occasionally goes behind the back or has camera angles that make it look cool. But
sure,
yeah, I don't typically like those games except for that one, which is weird. But yeah, and I watched the Sonic movie, the 1999
OVA
movie.
The OVA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at some point we'll have to watch that.
Have fun buying it.
Oh, is it out of print? Difficult to find?
I mean, it would be easier for me to just rip it for you, honestly.
Well, you can do that. I don't have any qualms about that. Just like I don't have any qualms to steal postal from the torrents. So, there are some
You want to
movies
support Uwe Boll?
there's some things you don't have to support, and Uwe Boll and Sonic the Hedgehog are two of those things.
Well, thank you for the great segue there, Jens, because Sonic was one of the 5 different games, franchises, whatever, that had something on the same day. I don't know why everybody picked May 27th for everything, but sure. Let's all do it in one day, everyone. Well, technically Dragon Quest was like the night before, but
yeah,
whatever. It's all in the same time frame. Let's just do it that way. So, well, you said you didn't watch it, Jens, but like the Sonic presentation, I give it credit for being short. They didn't try to overly do stuff. Nobody overstayed their welcome. I appreciate when they care about your time when it comes to these things. I mean, some of the Sonic merch was something else. So these Sonic chains, and the way they had to tell everybody about it was like just something like if you are down with basically, without saying it, hip hop music, then these Sonic chains should very well be in your wheelhouse. I guess, like, really, somebody couldn't tell them that you didn't have to make that assumption, but sure.
So did Sonic rap? Or
no,
perform hip-hop?
No, it was just they were yeah.
That would be a very interesting way to celebrate the anniversary. Just have Sonic doing live performances of different sorts of rap.
Yeah, just give me a hologram. Use that Kanye West technology,
Sure.
Yeah. Sonic, or make Sonic Parappa the Rapper. Whatever. They showed off Sonic being in the Olympics, which was hilarious, and
that was unnerving. I didn't even know that game existed until it showed up there, and I'm like, "What? What is going on?" It's not even accurate anymore, so it's very strange that it's even.
I had no idea it existed. I don't think anyone really knew it existed. That they had an official game.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden there it is, and then they're like just totally going ham with it, with Sonic being in like everything, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sega, for having some fun there. And then the 2-point hospital thing as well. Like, all right, let's just ham it up with all this stuff. I appreciate that, them having a sense of humor. I love the fact that there's a Sonic Colors Ultimate coming to Switch and the other consoles. That's one of my favorite Sonic games, so totally down with that happening. I guess other than there being a new Sonic, the other surprise was that there is a Sonic collection. It didn't go as far as we had talked about last week.
We weren't really serious with some of those.
I knew it wouldn't.
But it actually includes Sonic 3, which is a miracle compared,
It'll have different music.
It won't have. You don't think it'll have the Michael Jackson tracks?
No.
No.
Because they already re-released it once without that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, so it's you're right. Sonic CD is in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sonic CD is
that was one of our predictions.
The collection is very interesting, not only in that it was one of the surprise announcements that I don't think had really leaked beforehand, unlike the Sonic Colors thing, but that it's not releasing for such a long time. It's a collection of old games. It's not like it's the first time these games have been re-released. There are tons of Sonic collections throughout all of game history, and they're waiting a year to release it. That sounds like something you shadow drop, to be honest. Like that's how if I was Sega, I would have gotten it done and shadow dropped it then. I would have gotten and picked that up 100%. But if it's coming out in a year,
I wonder if they're trying to pair it with the movie.
Them making such a big deal about it is exactly why we were joking about, what if it has Sonic 06 on it and all that stuff, right? What if it is Shadow the Hedgehog?
I thought it would have been bigger because if you're going to tell me that it's going to be this mega Sonic collection, you're going to have way more than unless they are doing the Capcom Arcade Stadium thing where they're going to release DLC packs or something for it. Then
that would be interesting. Yeah. And considering they have so many Sonic games that are also available on platforms such as Steam, there are plenty of Sonic games on there. It's interesting that they don't really bring those over to other things. So we're getting a few of the ports, but not a ton, which is interesting for a series that has been released so many times, and this is now such a big anniversary. It seems like they're kind of holding back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is. I mean, maybe they didn't want to bog down the presentation with, oh, it also has this. Oh, it also has this. You know, like, so.
We saw some forget, man.
It might be that they just showed off that because everybody understands that this is the early part of Sonic, and then maybe they later, before they get to the release date, they go, oh, we're also adding these titles or whatever, because they did say that there's going to be other announcements throughout the year. So, you know, we don't know, but I agree with you. If that's all we're getting, it is weird that this wasn't a shadow drop because, like you said, these are old games. You could technically play them on a lot of other things.
I mean, I already own all that crap on Steam anyway, so
yeah, I agree. I own it on Steam too. So,
and
you know,
like the old like Sonic Mega Collection on the Xbox and PS2, like that was like 15 Sonic games because it had like all the Game Gear stuff and some other stuff.
Yeah, I have a collection on GameCube somewhere behind me that's got way more games than the one that's coming out.
Mega Collection, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, anything.
Sonic the Fighters and Judgment 2.
Hey, I appreciate
why not just put
the
ROM of that out on modern consoles? If they have it running, why shoehorn into that? I think this presentation was very strange to me for a multitude of reasons. I'm not interested in a lot of the things that they announced, and it felt like they weren't super substantial. Adding Sonic skins to things is cool, but as a bonus. When you're hanging your hat on a teaser trailer for a future game that's not even coming on the anniversary, a remaster that was leaked, and a collection that's not releasing for a year, I came out of the presentation pretty disappointed. And maybe I'm in the minority for that, but I watched it alongside my friend, and we did a reaction video to it, and I was just the whole time like, when is the big announcements going to come that actually feel substantial? A Sonic Mania 2 I didn't think was unlikely, but it wasn't even there.
I mean, you being disappointed in Sonic isn't a good encapsulation of Sonic in general.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think they wanted to make sure that nothing took away from them teasing a new 3D Sonic, because if you introduce there's another Sonic Mania, that becomes the talking point.
Yeah, because that's actually worthwhile. Like a new 3D Sonic is always going to be bad.
See, here's why I don't. They already showed Lost Judgment before this presentation. So what really was there for me? There was not going to be another Yakuza game that they were going to announce.
Yeah, unless Sonic shows up in Yakuza.
And they weren't going to, like the stuff that I care. I don't expect that there'll be another Valkyria Chronicles. Right,
but this wasn't a Sega presentation. It was just
a Sonic presentation.
Sonic only.
Purely Sonic. Okay.
Yeah, just Sonic. Right. Yeah.
But it was actually called Sonic Central, which I think the Sonic account today tweeted that, hey, it's a reference actually to a website that they had almost 20 years ago, which is a cool thing for them to sort of dig back out and be like, hey, we're sort of still tying this back together, even though it doesn't really mean anything.
Where's Sonic R2?
But I mean,
wait. Here's why I got confused, Sean. If we knew up front this was a Sonic only presentation, why are we talking about how they're just hanging their heads on Sonic? I guess this other stuff's going to come later, right?
Yeah, I'm just sure at E3 we're going to get more from Sega and Atlas.
No, it's just going to be Sonic. It's all around Sonic.
Look, we don't know if they're hanging their head on Sonic, as you say.
No, what I was saying was, if you're gonna, what we're all saying here is that it feels like they could have done more with this, considering it's a big anniversary that you're celebrating. When we talk about the Dragon Quest stuff, it feels like Dragon Quest hit all the buttons, whereas Sonic did not.
Dragon Quest showed off a new game, so that helps.
Yeah, and
they didn't really show off a new game. They showed off a freaking, a title frame. I mean,
people mourning that MMO in the West forever.
Yeah, well, we don't actually know if it's coming to the West.
Oh, here's the whole reason why you take that thing offline and make this new version of it, so it doesn't go to waste, right? Is so that it can live on, apart from its online framework. So if you're going to do that, why not localize it? It would make absolutely no sense if you're not going to also open it up to new markets. That's like the biggest benefit of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it felt weird to me that with DQ12 DQ Treasures and DQ the 3 HD 2D remake, which that's the thing that I love the most out of this, was they made sure to note that that's going to be worldwide release or that it will come out to the West. And I understand totally why the iOS games, they're not even mentioning to the West because they don't really do a whole lot here. But like DQ10 offline is the one that people have been, whether it was going to be online or offline, regardless, people have been really wanting that because you want to be able to have the entire 1 to 11 of DQ, right? So like that's the one that's missing. And like the fact that you're going to go out and make it offline, you're not going to try to do the FF14 thing where you're going to try to maintain a subscription and it's an MMO and all that stuff. Like, weird that you wouldn't go ahead and introduce that it's coming to the West as well. But maybe they're tempering expectations to see how it's received because they are changing the art style and other things, and then go from there.
I mean, it seems like people are pretty excited, so I think they'd be crazy not to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that they're continuing the DQ11 with I think it's Eric and Mia with which is technically it's an RPG, but it's a different kind of RPG. We'll see when we actually see gameplay from that. DQ12 is going to have an adult story, supposedly. So
Dragon Quest is another one of those series that I don't have a lot of experience with. I got 11 when it came to Switch, and I probably played about 10 hours of it, and I just got distracted by other things, and I was busy with my first year of college at that point. But it's a series I have a lot of respect for, but honestly, not a lot of people in my age demographic are familiar with Dragon Quest, so them pushing that mature theme for 12, it might be an interesting way to sort of set it apart from the rest of the series and sell it to a wider audience.
Or they know the Dragon Age fans have aged up anyway.
Exactly.
It's all people like us now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the main selling point is that we know that this is the 35th anniversary. We know that a lot of you people that are watching have been around for a majority of these games. So we're going to, give you that benefit of having been around, which for some other series that could also do that, Pokemon.
I'd be really interested to see what their idea of mature themes in a Dragon Quest setting are. Like, is it like how dark is it gonna go?
I mean, they kind of went a little bit dark with 11, so
sure. Anime dark.
Yeah, anime dark, right? But I'm just saying, like, it's still gonna have that anime aesthetic of its Toriyama's characters. But we'll see. Like, I just like that they're at least talking about it and saying we're trying to do different things. We're gonna try to change up some other things that you're used to with Dragon Quest. So I'm the same way as you, Tucker. Like, I've actually when I had a 3DS, a lot of the Dragon Quest games started coming to 3DS after the PlayStation 2. So they put a lot of them on there, 7, 8, 9. I think they went as far as back as 4 to put them on there. So, like, if you didn't have a 3DS or 2D or a DS and we're paying attention to that at all, you wouldn't even know that they were out because they never really got released on the main consoles. Other than, like, I think 8 showed up on Android for free at some point, like through Amazon. But like, I'm the same way. Like, 11 is what really got me to, okay, I really like this. I mean, as an RPG fan, I've always been a Final Fantasy guy because that's what came here. That's what you know about, Dragon Quest was kind of like the redheaded stepchild that unless you live in Japan, you don't really get to understand much about it. And 11 came out and it was so great. It was just such a, like, this is an old school RPG and we're just going to be that the entire time. And I appreciated that, but I also enjoyed the characters and everything. I also understand on your end, it's a long game. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like falling off it after 10 hours, that doesn't surprise me at all because there's probably a lot of people in your same boat. Like, that is a game that you're doing a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, it's a game I have a lot of reverence for, and I did enjoy what I played. I think it's got great presentation taking that classic style of gameplay and putting in really high fidelity, great art style. You got obviously Toriyama characters, all of that. I really did enjoy. Unfortunately, that classic style of RPGs was something that I had not had a lot of experience with beforehand. I have since gotten a little more experience with it. I actually played Final Fantasy VI last year and absolutely loved it. But it's something that I might go back to, although there's just so much to playing coming out. I might look forward to 12 and not really bother going back to 11.
I probably wouldn't. I would just go to 12 and just if you don't have the time to give back to it to try to get further, I wouldn't, because it's an old school RPG. You're going to do those same things over and over. And it's really just.
I'll just say this, though. It's incredibly pretty on the Series X.
I agree.
Version is definitive. So
and you're getting the better music.
Now it's time to play if you're going to play it. I really like that version.
But I'm going to go to the DQ, the Dragon Quest III Hdtd Remake, which we did get the original version as part of 1, 2, 3 on the Switch last year. They Hori hinted that perhaps they're doing this also for 1 and 2, but they're highlighting 3 because this is kind of the game that really kickstarted Dragon Quest. So that's why they're really highlighting it. I love that they are using this Octopath Traveler Project Triangle strategy engine for other stuff.
Oh, yeah. It looks absolutely fantastic. Even as someone who has no experience with the original game, not really a lot of connection to the Dragon Quest series, it looks fantastic. And I think that's, if they continue applying that to remakes of Super Nintendo era games, it could really catch on and be a big thing. And I'd love to see it be applied to other things. As I said, I played Final Fantasy VI last year. If they showed off Final Fantasy VI and that art style, I would lose my mind. It would be absolutely fantastic.
I think that's what a lot of people are hoping for now, that when we talk about that Square-Enix conference in a little bit, that we will get some kind of surprise Final Fantasy that way of the Super Nintendo era. So maybe it'll happen. Who knows? I'm hoping for that too. I would absolutely go nuts if there was a Chrono Trigger or any of the 4 through 6 Final Fantasies made that way. That's insta buy. Whenever it comes out, I'm there day one buying that thing, because it gives me a reason to replay those great games and that art style. Pretty awesome. So I don't know that we need to spend too much time on either one of these because they weren't as comprehensive as Sonic or Dragon Quest, but Dying Light 2 and Far Cry 6 both had gameplay and then just also like cinematic trailers. Released. Dying Light also has now a platinum version for the first game that's out there right now that you can buy if you want. Mark, I'll go to you. I don't have a lot of experience with Dying Light. I know you didn't watch it, Tucker. I don't know what your experience is much with it, Jens. But Mark, I know you played the first Dying Light. You reviewed the first Dying Light. Oh, you played it as well? Okay. Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think? Is there anything from Dying Light 2 that made you go, I'm more interested in this, or you kind of feel the same?
I kind of feel the same. I don't think it'll come out this year, though. Like, that game...
They waited all the way to the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, it's like December 29th or something. I mean...
No, I hate that. I hate when there's always got to be this one game that's like, okay, everybody's getting ready to do Game of the Year stuff at the end of November, and then, you got to have the one game that comes out in the first week or second week of December and go, let's make everybody wait.
It won't be that game, so it's not. I mean, I don't. Yeah. It looked like more Dying Light, but a more gothic-looking city and like bigger monsters, or
It seemed like there was more focus on the story than one,
and like a lot more human enemies too. Because in like the first Dying Light, you didn't really fight a ton of humans. I don't think.
I don't know. There were some groups that you had to deal with.
Yeah.
There were a couple of points where it did throw humans at you, and those are pretty annoying.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm...
like a lot more human stuff.
Yeah. So, I did not love human enemies. And to be fair, I did not love Dying Light. That's a game I fell off of. So
yeah, it's pretty neutral on it too, actually. So.
I'll need some convincing that some of the mechanics and just the way the leveling works and stuff. If they overhaul that, if I watch some playthroughs and it looks better, I might give it a chance, even though I'm pretty burned out on zombies. It'd look cool. I like the setting. It looks good. Though not as nice as the setting in Far Cry 6. I think Far Cry 6 looks surprisingly good.
Segue.
Yeah, thank you, Jens. You're great.
I was really, seeing that kind of, and I realized that it's modern day because you also see a cell phone used in the trailer.
Right.
But there are times when it's just like, oh, it's 1960s Cuba. It's very obvious
definitely.
Yeah, and I really enjoy that as a setting. So I think it looks gorgeous, and I'm all in again from that last gameplay trailer. After I hated Far Cry 5 with a fiery passion, so I did do the thing that I tend to do with Ubisoft games, where I say no more Ubisoft games and I swear them off, and then eventually it's like, yeah, that trailer looked pretty good.
And then you take over the next camp 40 more times.
Yeah.
Yep.
I actually was kind of mixed on that Far Cry trailer.
Really?
I don't like their stupid insistence in having not like you can pick whatever sex your character is.
No, I like that.
I agree.
Especially now that it seems like it has third-person elements. And it's a lot of stuff in third person. Well,
it's clear they want you to be a female character. Yeah, because that's what was shown in the trailer.
She has a name and everything. Like, why even bother?
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's what they did with like Assassin's Creed, like the last one, and it's like, I guess in the Assassin's Creed game is like you're supposed to be the female, but everything they showed was the male character. So I just played the dude. So it's like, okay, you want me to be a female character? Just make it a female character. Like,
well, I think they decided that they were going to canon Cassandra after they saw how well Cassandra was received.
Yeah.
Right,
so I don't think it was the plan necessarily.
The difference between Cassandra, I think, is you felt like Cassandra was very evidently made to be the canon character. Like,
you get the same feeling with Far Cry 6.
Right, no, Far Cry 6, I agree, but like what Mark was saying with Assassins is if there wasn't a news report 5 minutes after Assassin's Creed Valhalla trailer aired, I would have no idea if there was even a female character because they never show her.
Fair enough.
So, like, that's my point. Is like I get it, but by the time Valhalla was happening, they were still having all that internal problems with.
It seems like you have more of a character in this new Far Cry game than you had.
Yeah,
you have a name, unlike Far Cry 5 and like the New Dawn game.
And it seems It seems like you're kind of joining. You're joining the guerrillas and making up your mind about the cause and all that stuff.
Right.
So, if you're spending more time in third person and have more of a character, then that can be more of a moral choice type thing. Even if they don't want to really make a statement about it, it's probably going to be a typical Ubisoft story where everybody's terrible in their own way, right? There's no good sides in Ubisoft games. So,
I mean, it just seems cowardly to me. It's like,
well, I mean,
character,
it's just like their whole stance at the beginning. As soon as the trailer comes out, we're not trying to be political. What is it, like 2 days afterwards they go, oh, well, yeah, we're being political, but we're not being political about Cuba.
Ubisoft is about being as marketable as possible, and they know there's a certain contingent of players that just want a male character, and they're going to cater to them, even if it's not going to be their primary.
Well, Ubisoft needs to get their act together, because when you have more of a defined, like we're going to talk about with Horizon, you know who your character is, that's who they are. It comes off as a better game to me than just giving me the most. And also, it's not like their creative character is like the most expansive thing on planet Earth. It's the most basic thing ever. And it's like you just threw it in there so you don't make people mad. It's like, come on, how long is this going to go on?
I'm definitely someone that prefers a game to be set around a character with a personality. I'm not someone who finds a silent protagonist to be compelling. I don't really like it when protagonists are bland, so you can apply your own personality onto them, or like project your thoughts onto them, or whatever. But so I do find it frustrating when they strip out something that could clearly be intended to tell a more compelling and personalized story to probably pander to that wider audience who are just angry that they can't play as a man. I don't know.
But we don't know that that's the case. I mean,
true.
Mark is just you're speculating that because it's presenting you a choice, that these choices are going to be less fleshed out. I mean, it's going to come down to the quality of the writing in that particular game. Now, of course, Ubisoft has disappointed me many times in the past with the quality of their storytelling. But that's not really an aspect of the character creation choices necessarily. I mean, that's a weird thing to hang your complaint on.
By that metric, you should play Watchdogs Legion, where you have no main character at all.
And I hear that's, an interesting but kind of flawed experiment as well. I'm not going to play another Watch Dogs game because I played Watch Dogs and I said no more of this.
Well, I don't blame you there. And from having to edit and read Rock's review, he was not very kind to the fact that there was no a main character in that game at all.
2 is the one that people seem to like.
Yeah.
Well, he's the best character.
It's going to be like Watch Dogs is like start the Star Trek film series. Every even game is going to be good.
Yes.
Interesting.
But like,
I think Far Cry 6 it looks like a step in the right direction and 5 was very confused about its setting.
Yeah.
That weird middle America under a cult just before the apocalypse setting is, I don't know, it did not work for me at all as something that I could credibly invest myself in. Whereas this, at least when they go to an exotic locale, there's enough of a hook there, There's stuff for them to exploit.
Giancarlo Esposito being the lead villain is already putting it high above on my list of.
You're right. That's already a strong hook, right? Just having him on the cover is a hook.
It looks like he has very good command of that character, and it's going to be good. As someone that's Venezuelan and is seeing their country from afar go through what people experience with Cuba, and living in Miami and seeing all these Cuba protests going on right in front of me, basically. All those allusions to Cuba with the cars, with the guerrillas, with everything, is like hits close for me. So that makes it something that I'm probably going to check out, as opposed to with like Far Cry 5, where it did not.
But he himself, he's become so iconic that just his presence, it's that. There's an Onion article where the headline is just "Introduction of Giancarlo Esposito suggests main character now totally fucked." So just having him is like the thing, right? So this latest trailer barely even showed him, right? Like they're kind of holding that stuff back. It was more of a focus on the protagonist.
Well, that's good, because I don't want to know everything about the villain.
Exactly.
It's going to be really weird. The last battle in Far Cry 6 is a lightsaber fight.
Oh, God. But yeah, I think the setting, the villain, what they're doing with the main character, it all looks good to me.
Yeah, it all looks good. And if you're going to talk about looking good on various fronts, I think the winner for me of all these stories that we saw, Horizon Forbidden West looked amazing. Whether you're talking about somebody's cheeks or whether you're talking about, anything else going on with Aloy or just the game.
All I know is what I've read on Twitter, which is that Aloy is not feminine enough.
Yeah, or gained a little weight or whatever else somebody wanted to, insinuate. It's like.
Yeah, that was not a fun controversy to follow the last 3 days. Let me tell you.
That's one of those times where, as a being part of the game journalism community, people need to learn to not quote tweet people
and give these people more attention.
That guy then laughed later. He said, "I gained 100 followers. I wonder why." Because everybody and their mother was quote tweeting the guy. Like the stuff that came out today and yesterday with the memes about it and stuff like that. That was funny.
Yeah.
Like if you want to make a point without quote tweeting the person, cool. But don't give the guy more crap. Like it's like,
it just doesn't make any sense to me in a sequel with an established protagonist where it's like, yep, protagonist looks like she always has. What's your problem?
She's a little bit older. She's also in like a freaking wildlands. Like, why is she gonna have makeup and all this other stuff on? Like, but getting to the actual game that we saw, man, some of that stuff was amazing. The grappling hook, that's the spear thing that she comes out of nowhere and just like smashes the guy. Like, I loved all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think, Tucker?
For me, my experience with the first game is pretty stunted. I only played probably about 10 hours of it on my PS4 a few years ago. I did not play it at launch, but I do think it's a really interesting game. I'm very fascinated by the concept in general, and I'm going to beat the first one before the second one comes out, so I can follow Aloy in her arc and get into the series in that way. I thought what they showed was obviously very high quality. It's the next game that they're really building to. But I personally find the gameplay of Horizon to be more centered around exploration and that open world element of it. And I was really interested to see what they would show from that, which of course they didn't. This was a mission focused, scripted gameplay element, mostly scripted gameplay element segment that they showed us. And I really wish they would have included a little bit more of the open world in there and see what new modes of travel there are in terms of larger creatures or whatever. So what they showed was very cool, but it didn't exactly grab me in the way I was expecting to, because I thought they would be focusing on the open world.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what this showed me was there's a big reason why there's not a release date. Is I think this may get delayed till next year. Mm-hmm. And they may not really want to show stuff with exploration or whatever, because they may not have a lot of that necessarily ready to show.
Much easier to just show a vertical slice of
exactly.
That's a story mission. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and also it's like you exploring a land or whatever. It doesn't matter how pretty it looks like, which we got to see some of that when she goes underwater and all that. It's like you know what that is. Like, I think the changes that you wanted to see, I think, are a lot of what we did see. The grappling hook, the way she's going to be, traversing through things, the fact that they added more machines she can ride and things like that. I think that's just as important, because it's going to determine how you traverse, how many of these set pieces you're going to run into. Some of that stuff was also cutscene mixed in with gameplay, so you don't really know how much of that was what you're actually going to play or not. But I mean, just seeing that tremor tusk come out of there and just plow through everything, and then having her attack it. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of like having the weaknesses and all that. But I mean, that's just how that series is made and how you attack those machines. But I'm just very interested to see, once you get to the San Diego, San Francisco, all that area. Well, they were in San Francisco, but all the other areas you're going to get into there, what that's going to look like, and what the story is going to be about too. That's going to be interesting. Any thoughts, Mark? Or
I thought it was weird because I did finish Horizon Zero, or the first one, and like how much stealth is in this game. Because it's like I just would have started beating on all the monsters with my big stupid staff. Like, I
mean, there was plenty of stealth in Horizon Zero Dawn if you chose to.
Yeah, but I think that game is so overpowered that it doesn't, you don't have to hide
eventually, but stealth is actually a really overpowered thing early in the game. Hiding, doing ambush stuff from the tall grass is a really good, early method for dealing with heavier monsters.
Yeah, but
yeah, I mean, they're wanting to show you what you're going to be doing for the majority of it, probably, and then like you said, once you get overpowered, then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, but scripted stealth is not, that's not something that I care to see necessarily. But the stealth in Zero Dawn was pretty open ended.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not really concerned. That the stuff that. Here's the thing. I have faith that the stuff that we care about for Horizon, as far as the open world is concerned, is going to be there.
Right.
So
yeah.
why not show a cool set piece?
Sure. Yeah, and I think they were just trying to show off mostly the fluidity of the animation, what they've changed in terms of combat, which obviously this was very combat heavy game, but and the just graphics in general, and showing an area that is condensed down to that area allows them to really pump up the visuals and not have to worry with loading in a ton of different things, as they can control where she's going and stuff like that. So I understand why they did it, and I expect that we'll see a open world, more exploration focused trailer, gameplay slice, whatever, in the relatively near future. I would say sometime after E3 or whenever Sony decides to have their showcases. But I am excited for the game, and I watched it with a group of friends, and most of them were excited for it as well. So I think they're doing a good job with it. I was mostly just expressing my what I wanted to see out of it. So
I hear you.
Yeah, that's understandable. We're all going to have our thoughts in it, but I mean, it was very interesting to me that I thought we were going to get a clear, well, this is when this game's coming out, and we got nothing. So it looks like COVID may have affected Horizon a lot more than first thought. So we'll see.
Or it's just game development. I mean, it's not like delays didn't happen before COVID.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, like, they were still talking about it as this is a fall game, and it very well could be, but it's weird that this is your showcase before E3. It looks like they're not going to have anything during that week. It looks like they may even have their own PlayStation experience at the end of the month, bringing that back. So, like, unless you're going to wait to do the reveal there, which I guess they could do that as well. But I think it's smart. Like, don't rush such a huge game that you're really needing to hit for people that own these PS5s and that will continue to buy them before that game comes out. This is going to be their first, aside from Ratchet. But I mean, like, Ratchet looks great, but Ratchet looks like Ratchet, right? Like, this is that first game because Return doesn't appeal to everybody. And, you know, you might go back and buy Miles Morales or whatever, but this is going to be that first game that if you're buying the PS5 during the holiday season, or you bought it a little bit before then, this is that game you're looking forward to. So you want to make sure it hits all the buttons, you know? So, I mean, moving on from there, just to get to a few other Sony things here. Sony did have their little, they had a business thing, business quarterly, whatever it was, yearly thing that they had. And within it, they talked about doing more games as a service, and they've been hinting at this a couple. You know, they've been talking about this for like at least a few months now that they want to do mobile games. You know, they have the Sony phones, but they haven't. You know, and they had the Vita and PSC, but they haven't really been doing mobile games. So now they want to bring some of their big franchises to mobile. I mean, is there anything that like comes to your mind that you know? I'm not a big phone person aside from playing Game Pass on my phone, but I don't play like actual mobile games. I don't know if any of you guys do. Anything that jumps out to you makes you go, man, I want to play that on my phone.
For me, it's interesting that they're shifting a focus to mobile games because we saw Nintendo do that a few years ago, and a couple of them worked, a couple of them didn't. But I do like the idea of them trying to apply their IPs and some of their development resources to this and put out high-quality mobile experiences. It could get me to try mobile games. I'm personally not someone who plays a lot of games on their phone. If I'm mobile gaming, it's on my Switch, and that's normal-sized games. But the mobile market has the possibility to shift IPs in a way that makes them a more interesting experience for a bite-sized gameplay experience. And so if they do put out these high-quality experiences, I'm totally willing to try them. I'm not going to crap on it just because it's mobile until it comes out and we see how it actually works.
Any thoughts from you guys at all? I know you're not mobile folks either, but
I mean, even their Vita stuff wasn't great. So I have no faith in them to make like, oh, here's Uncharted mobile. It's like, no, thank you.
Was it Golden Abyss?
That's the MS Runner.
Randy greatly defends that Vita game, for that Uncharted Vita game.
I mean, it's not like terrible, but it's not like the console version either.
Sure, it's stripped down for the Vita, but
yeah,
my biggest issue with it were all those gimmicky mini games that it kept making you do all the time.
Like you have to like go out in the light to like see the map or whatever. Or
it felt very much like a let's try and justify every Vita gimmick kind of game.
Right, yeah, because didn't it like come out close to when the Vita launched?
Yeah,
it was a launch game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sony tends to do that with their launch system games, as we saw with Astro's Playroom. But
But yeah, if Randy were here, he would tell you all about how that game is basically as good as any Uncharted game. He has made that argument to me.
That's a lie.
I'm a very big Uncharted fan, but as someone who doesn't own a Vita, I tried to get one back in the day, but I don't really have any reason to want to play it because they've made 5 absolutely fantastic. Well, the first one's not a great game, but the main series is such a high quality bar that having one that's crammed down into a smaller experience, I'm not sure if would really capture the experience that I'm looking for.
For me, that's not the reason to have a Vita, though. The Vita is one of my favorite ever gaming systems, so I do really love it. But that's not one of those. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I never owned a Vita, so I can't comment. But the thing is,
that's amazing.
I just didn't want to deal with the memory card thing.
That is, I mean, you got to just figure that extra expense.
I mean, if they had
boned anyway,
if they had done the thing
from the gate,
if they had done the thing with like Nintendo, where you can just stick an SD card in there of whatever size you want, I'd would have been down, and I would have bought a bunch of video games because I love playing stuff on portable. My Switch is never docked unless I need to capture footage or I'm reviewing a Switch game. I need to tell you how it is on docked. Other than that, I'm playing it portable 99% of the time. So, like, I don't, I would have loved to have a Vita, but that was just a thing that was like, I'm not going to be buying this expensive ass memory card when I'm also buying games and all this other stuff. Like, so, and then they also became really hard to find as well. So,
John Muramasa, the Demon Blade.
Oh, man. They should have put that on something. Well, wasn't it
a Wii game?
It was a Wii game originally.
Yeah, but see, Wii,
you're not even playing the Wii version.
I don't want to play stuff on the Wii. So,
exactly.
But
no one wanted to play anything on the Vita either. So there you go.
Oh no.
Well,
great system. Anyway,
but what I was getting at here, I think where Nintendo failed, and they figured it out eventually with some of them is like Fire Emblem. It's free to play, right? Like, and it continues to do that gotcha thing and all that, whatever. Like, it's successful because it does that. Pokemon Go is not a Nintendo-made game, but still same premise. Like, if Sony is going to try to do the console thing on mobile, it's not going to work. People don't like playing, unless you're going to tell me that that's all that game is. You pay your 10, 15, 20 bucks, and then you just play the game on mobile. If they try to do that thing like they did with Mario, where they, like, you pay for a certain amount of the game, and then then they start doing other stuff. Like, then I don't think that's going to work because it's been shown that mobile thrives much more on the free to play or the gacha mechanic or the, you pay every little bit often for something. Like, those are the games.
Got to feed the whales. If you don't feed the whales, how will they feed you?
Exactly. I mean, I hope Sony doesn't go that route, but that's probably the route they're gonna.
Which is why I don't care.
Go. Yeah.
I mean, I got into the worst of those that I ever got into was that Girls Frontline series, the one with the android girls that you're collecting.
What a shock!
That doesn't surprise me at all.
That are like anthropomorphized guns. It's kind of like what Ken Coley, but they're gun girls rather than battleship girls. Anyway.
Okay.
So I don't know what I'm talking about this, other than it was a miserable experience, and I've sworn off all games that have those kind of gotcha. You gotta or roll for.
Well, there you go. See, that's the point.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. So, one last thing before we get into some other stuff, like we talked about this before. It was revealed in the Epic and Apple case that Sony apparently charged for crossplay, but there is now further proof of this with apparently they pulled the same stuff on Borderlands 3 for Take-Two, and Take-Two was like, no, I'm not paying for crossplay when all these other consoles are doing that. Where do you I mean, I get it, Sony's the front runner, they can do this stuff, but like, is this something that Sony needs to be fighting? Like, just let people do crossplay?
I think that it's very clear that Sony's just taking the long game for this. They've been coming around to it slowly but surely, and it's mostly after they get a lot of crap for doing it, as they rightly should. It's ridiculous that they're just holding out for essentially just because they're the top dog and they can do what they want. But I think it'll come around in probably.
Nope.
Am I back?
Yeah.
The last 20 seconds or so you missed.
Oh, that sucks. Okay, well, regardless, I don't think this is going to last forever. I think Sony will come around to it because they're going to get a lot of crap for it, and they're going to realize that it's probably just a better product for them to allow people to crossplay. The only games that I play that would even benefit from crossplay are like Minecraft and Overwatch, which are some of my personal favorite games. And Minecraft does have crossplay, but Overwatch doesn't. And if that had crossplay, I would be playing it a lot more. Unfortunately, Sony and Blizzard, whoever, it's not a thing yet. But I think crossplay will become more commonplace, and I don't see Sony holding out for much longer.
I just see it as who actually wants to play Borderlands 3 anymore.
Well, yeah,
True.
I mean, obviously, or ever. But I still see the benefit as somebody who always has to make that. Who always has to weigh the benefit of, okay, am I going to get it on the PlayStation 5 or am I going to get it on the Xbox Series X? Whichever. Okay, haptics versus slight performance improvements, or I generally try to get cross-platform stuff on the Xbox, but then you also have to factor into the decision, like, okay, where are which friends? If I'm going to play, Shadow Warrior is not a good example because that doesn't work on either.
Well, Borderlands, you play Borderlands with Mark,
right? Well, actually, It Takes Two is a good example because I just bought that on Xbox because the person who I'm playing It Takes Two with is playing it on Xbox, but that means that I would not be able to play it with Mark, for instance. So there it is. It'd be nice to have, but I also kind of don't expect it. I don't think Sony is going to budge on this anytime soon, and I don't know.
They'll budge on the most popular games, but that's not Borderlands 3. That's Fortnite.
I fully expect.
Well, but they're making Fortnite paid the money, right? Because they knew there was a.
They don't have to fund Randy's porn collection.
I mean, well, that's another. But the thing is, Epic knew that they were going to get a lot out of paying it, right? Whereas Take-Two goes, it's Borderlands 3, it's already been out. Like, what's the point? We're not going to pay, and maybe to see if they can guilt Sony into it, but I don't think they will. But we'll see. Yeah, like Tucker says, if eventually they do bite on this and kind of just stop making everybody have to go jump through hoops that you shouldn't have to when everybody else is being able to play crossplay.
Yeah, I think the reason I'm leaning more towards that becoming the case in the future is just that we've seen them already roll in the past, mostly roll back their opinions on crossplay and allow it to be a little more free. It's slowly but surely getting there, and the fact that they're cracking it all, I think, means that the dam will break pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's going to be soon, but maybe within like the next year or two, they definitely will. But I mean, I think it all depends. Honestly, again, I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face. If Microsoft doesn't move the needle to make Sony do something, as in they start actually affecting what Sony does, they're not going to. Because Nintendo is its own world, whether it releases a Switch Pro or not. Sony is only competing with one other company. And to the extent that they're competing with them is to whoever you talk to. So, like, unless Microsoft does something to really make them have to go, oh, man, they're killing us on all these services and all these things that they're giving to the players. And it's really making people go and buy an Xbox or do something to do with xCloud or whatever, or have an enormous amount of Game Pass subscriptions, like higher than the 24 million or whatever they're at right now. I don't think Sony's going to budge because they're the top dog, and people will eventually cave in to be like, oh, we want the access to the highest amount of players. So, we'll see. Maybe once they're not supporting the PS4 anymore, that could also be a factor, and you're only playing with the PS5 and the Xbox Series player base. then that's different. But I think as long as the PS4 player base is still in play, where Sony is clearly king there, I think it's hard for Sony to want to budge on any of that stuff at the moment. I mean, the best thing that you have shown that you can do, people, is make a big stink about it, and maybe they'll do something, right? We saw them change course with the PS3 store. We've seen them do it on other things. People need to make a big deal about it. It's like everybody that complains about the $70 price. That's like a small minority of people. It has to be a way bigger majority of people that complain about it being $70 and actually not buy the game for it to do something. So that's where you got to vote with your wallet on that.
Do we know how the $70 price tag has affected, say, Returnal? Returnal seems to be the game that everybody.
I don't think that we know, because that's also not just Sony. Like 2K did it with their sports games.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure EA will do it with Madden when that comes out as well. So we'll have to see how many of these publishers are really going to go that route. And will Microsoft do it once they're no longer supporting the Xbox One? That's another thing too. Microsoft's looking good right now, but once you're moving on to the Series systems exclusively, are you going to take the price cut, which they definitely could, right? They're Microsoft. Or are you going to compete with Sony? They could do that as well. Or are they going to go ahead and just do, okay, this is the industry standard now. We're accepting this is the industry standard. So we'll see what happens there. Really quick, Uncharted 4 is apparently going to be the next PC game. Tucker, I don't know how much you play on PC or even care that there's old Sony games coming to PC.
I think that I think it's great that these games are becoming more available. As someone who has a PC but doesn't play a lot of the big releases on it, it doesn't bother me much, or like it doesn't mean much to me rather. But it's just interesting that Sony's cracking on this at all. Like you see Death Stranding coming to PC, like okay, well that's Kojima, that's another thing. But its Horizon is confirmed for PC, correct?
Horizon's already there, and they made 250% return on their investment.
Wow. Okay. So that, and then with Uncharted, which really for the last few generations has been Sony's premier IP for quality, and this is the big blockbuster game that you want to come to PlayStation for. Seeing them put it on PC is absolutely fascinating, and in some ways it's antithetical to the choices that they've been making of trying to put things. Okay, this is only on PlayStation. You want to come to the most powerful console. It's us. But I'm happy more people can get to play, because Uncharted 4 is a great game.
Yeah, I agree there. What I'm surprised about is it's not the whole collection entirely. Like these games are all on the PS Plus collection. You're not going to make any more on the. I mean, there's probably more work that they have to do with, but especially with Uncharted 1. But like to just go ahead and put the entire. Okay, you can play everything Uncharted on the PC coming whenever. I'm surprised that they didn't just go ahead and do that route. So like you gave me a time frame for the crossplay. Do you think that there's ever a time where we start seeing the gap close? Maybe not day and date, but where it's not so far out that we're getting these PC releases for Sony. Like, do you think we ever get to the point where it's like 6 months or a year, or it's always going to be this long drawn out thing?
I think the fact that they're doing it at all, but B more frequently now. I mean, 2 this year is already more frequently than last year. So I think it will start happening faster and faster. But it'll take a while, I think, to slowly build up to closer to release of their biggest games. But I do foresee it, maybe even another one being announced for PC this year, even more happening the next year as it builds, and eventually we do get to the point where games are basically just PC and PlayStation.
So do you think we'll get Bloodborne?
Ooh, that would be very special moment. That would be fantastic. I could see that happening, especially considering that's not a in-house Sony game. Of course, it was published by them, I think. But I would think that would be a great idea. Those games from Software do very well on that market, and
huge audience there.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be a huge pop, not only for Sony, as they would probably get some money off of that, but from Software as well. And also just the Bloodborne community likely being able to mod it, play it in 60 FPS, and that would be probably one of the premier releases of games being ported to PC.
Imagine if Bloodborne gets all the awesome remaster improvements on PC, but they don't come to PS5.
Oh, it won't, but then there'll be modders.
Yeah.
Oh, they just add Thomas the Tank Engine to Bloodborne.
That'll be the first thing people will do is unlock the frame rate, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they already have in the PS4.
No.
Well,
you just got to do some illicit shit to a PS4 to get it to work.
Yeah. I don't think the benefits are that great. I mean, you sometimes go a little above 30.
Yeah. So now we know that the Xbox Bethesda conference is going to be on June 13th. So we kind of are starting to get a schedule now, but we still have a lot of these conferences that we have no idea when they're happening. We do know that the Ubisoft event is on the 12th. Now it's Xbox and Bethesda. We thought that was going to be a different one. Now they're both all together. It looks like they have confirmed pretty much with the logos that Halo and Starfield will be at that event. So we know that games that, something we talked about last week, it's going to get shown off. We'll see how much they show. But the interesting one is Koch Media, that, of course, are the ones that are in charge of Saints Row, Time Splitters that we talked about last week, is going to have their own conference on June 11th, the day before E3. But, man, what are they going to show here? I mean, I get it. Like, you got Time Splitters you could show off, I guess. But, like, what else could they be planning here to have an actual conference? Saints Row?
Yeah, they've been working on a reboot for a while, so.
Okay. I mean, like, it's anything that comes to your mind, Tucker? Like,
I'm not familiar with the company or either. I mean, I know Time Splitters. I know Saints Row, but I've never played them. So it wouldn't really mean much to me. It might be something that I watch just in the background, but I have no reason to focus on it because I have no investment in those properties.
Right. I mean, unless they're going to come out with like a new Metro or Dead Island's finally going to rise from the grave.
They'll announce a Biomutant sequel already.
Isn't that I thought that was Nordic and Embracer Group.
That's THQ Nordic.
Yeah.
Okay. All the same thing to me at this point.
Well, I mean,
it will be eventually. Let's say
the thing is, they do have a lot of games that they, take care of, whether it's partner or whether it's self-published. So, I mean, they could pull off some surprises. It would be interesting just to, I guess, see. I can't imagine just for 2 games they're going to have a conference. So there's got to be a lot more that they're going to show that we just don't know yet.
The thing about this, I think, is most interesting, and even if I don't really care about those properties, is just the fact that we're having an all-digital E3, and everyone can kind of do what they want. If this is a 10, 15-minute thing where they show off two games in a pretty in-depth way, and that's it, fine. That works for them. It gets them their own slot. It makes them not buried underneath, inside of another bigger group.
Yeah.
I don't know why my mic keeps doing that, but regardless, I think you understood what I was saying. It's interesting to see so many groups have their own smaller conferences, and I think it could work well for them. But also, it's more than likely just going to be a not super well produced, Nintendo Direct style thing that people just forget about later.
Yeah, I mean, they could also. There's that Chorus game that Microsoft showed off. They could be showing something about that. There's the Gods Will Fall game as well. So like they have stuff. It's not the things that I think everybody's kind of like necessarily looking for per se. But I think it is nice that you have these, like you're saying, the fact that it's an all digital E3 and it will perhaps be the last one, because I imagine that the ESA really wants to take advantage of being able to go back into the usual fare with, using that convention center and everything else. So we'll see. But yeah, I would not be surprised if we get more of these. If perhaps some of these companies that wouldn't have a press conference because the ESA is going to charge you, a ton to be there in person, they may be more likely to just say, okay, let's do a show. Let's do a whole show. So we'll see. We'll see on that, but. Really quickly here, because we got to get to this Square Enix thing. Are you a big Pokemon fan at all, Tucker? Or?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
I mean, that's my childhood franchise. I've played all the games in this series, so I could talk Pokemon all day.
That's the way I am. I've played from the beginning till now. I kind of did not go back for the DLC for Sword and Shield.
I did not either. That's the first time I've not bought new Pokemon content at release. Yeah,
I was kind of done with that game when I finished it.
Yeah,
but I am definitely interested in not necessarily the first game, because I don't have a lot of Diamond and Pearl is kind of where I stopped. I didn't I played it a little bit, but I didn't have this love affair with it like I did the first 3 generations.
Sure.
Once I got to Diamond and Pearl, stuff was going on in my life, and I kind of fell off a little bit. So it's going to be cool for me to experience that really for the first time. But what's interesting to me, and I want to hear your take too, is
sure.
We always get that November release for Pokemon games. So Diamond and Pearl coming out then, but this is a new game, Pokemon Legends Arceus. 2 months afterwards, it doesn't even get to breathe. Really, you're already coming out with that game. I was surprised.
Both of these games are very intriguing to me for multiple reasons. One less so than the other because and this is going to date me, Pokemon Pearl was my first video game, but and I have a huge love for Sinnoh and Gen 4 and all of that. I mean, the music is nostalgic. I love the region. I think those games look awful. I think they look cheap. I think it's really underwhelming. $60, and it's a 1-to-1 remake with no new flares to it. So I'm not very excited for Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, even though I will play them just to see what they do to separate them from the originals. But Legends Arceus is coming out so soon. I'm cautiously optimistic because it does look very ambitious. Unfortunately, what we saw in that trailer just looked kind of chunky. The frame rate was really bad. The draw distance was terrible. And I'm worried that they're rushing this out to make up for the fact that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are kind of the lower budget experience, and they want to balance that out. And it's going to lead to the game not necessarily being the best it could be. So I have hope for Legends Arceus. I've heard in the rumor mill that it's got this real-time battle system that's different from anything we've seen, which could be very cool. But if the game and the characters run at low frame rates and it's hard to see in the distance and everything, I think it could get a lot of crap for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where, and it's going to lead into my next point is the rumor mill has been going on and on and on and on and on this week that it's going to happen. At some point this week, we're going to get the Switch Pro reveal. It got more stuff today about now it's the 4th on Friday. So
we'll see.
Whatever. I mean, I feel like whenever the heck somebody tells me, oh, it finally happened, is when I'm going to believe it, because it's getting nauseating at this point. Every day it feels like somebody is telling you it's going to show up. Jason Schreier, Jeff Grubb. I mean, all the big ones. And we're not talking about okay, the one I saw today is from El Centro News or whatever. We're talking about some of the big reporters that usually report on leaks telling you stuff like this. So it feels like it is going to happen, but it's I kind of just wanted to get it over with already because I'm tired of going through this constantly. I get the idea, right, that let's do this before our direct so that the focus can be on the games and not so much the console. So I'm totally down with that. But I think Legends Arceus is one of those games that's really going to benefit from the Switch Pro.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It would show it if there was a game that really started to show the age of the Switch, or at least the power of the Switch, not the age, but the limited power of the Switch is that game. And you kind of saw it with Sword and Shield too, but they masked it a little bit more. You're really trying to do an open world Pokemon game. The first one, the game that everybody's been wanting for a long, long time. Man, you've really got to have the system that goes with that. So, I'm really hoping that if we are going to get that Switch Pro, there's really going to be an improvement for Legends Arceus to be able to kind of showcase that system as well.
Yeah, and that could also be part of the reason why the game is launching so early, if they want to launch it alongside a Switch Pro, because it could be a very premier game that takes advantage of that hardware and doesn't actually run that well on base Switch. But hey, we've got a Switch Pro that you can play it on, and it looks and runs great. So that I think that could actually be a big part of the reason it is releasing relatively earlier than we probably expected.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I'm sure that they will mention it in that presentation, I'm sure, because they're going to want people to know that they're going to make a big point about it taking advantage of the Switch Pro's power and everything. Like, do you think it's going to happen? Do you think we're going to see it this week or at the E3 Direct, or are we going to get let down again? What do you think, Tucker?
Oh, the Switch Pro?
Yes.
I would say that I think the rumors are so thick right now that it would be surprising not to see it. But we've been hearing new Switch model rumors since a year after the Switch launched. And we got the Switch Lite, and that was great, and people have it now. But it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't see it. I don't know. It's a very hard thing to pin down, especially considering how thick those rumors were late last week. It was insane. I woke up and I saw everyone on my Twitter timeline tweeting about, hey, the Switch Pro is apparently going to be announced today. And I was kind of losing my mind. Like, wow, this is random for Nintendo to just drop a console revision, a supposedly major console revision on a Monday morning or whatever it was. No, I don't think it was Monday, but we could see a announcement trailer this week. That wouldn't blow my mind, especially because we've gotten it leaked out the wazoo now. But it also couldn't happen. I don't know. This is something I don't have a ton of weight in either way.
All right, guys, what do you think? I mean, considering all that we know about the system, obviously they could surprise us with some other things in the actual announcement. Obviously, it's going to go nuts. People are going to go pre-order that thing the moment it drops or whatever. But, like, are you interested in it at all? Are you wanting to see some of the games, the Breath of the Wild 2s and all that we know are coming? Like, what it's going to look like with these systems and the differences? Or you kind of, it doesn't bother you at all? You're good with just your Switch?
I'm good with my Switch because I barely ever use it.
Okay, fair enough.
And it's not a matter of power. It's a matter of there's a ton of games for it that I personally care about. And then going, it's 4K. It's like, okay, so what?
If it up-reses existing Switch games, I'd be excited for it. I would like to play Odyssey again in 4K if I can. So it'd be nice if that. But it all depends on. Or if it's just going to be, here's a half a dozen games that's going to have benefits forever, It really just depends on if it's going to give me improvements across the board. That's what I would want. By the way, Mark, I need to issue, while you guys have been talking about Pokemon, I've been watching this Bloodborne footage running on PS4, 60 frames. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I did not think a PS4 would be able to, if it can do it, I don't get why they don't just do it.
Because anyway, I think there's some. I get it's a little unstable. It also probably makes your PS4 hot as hell.
You think there's stuff that's just frame locked? Well, yeah, I know your PS4 was being strangled by The Last of Us Part 2 already.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't imagine how Horizon is going to play on the PS4. Like, if Last of Us 2 made your PS4 feel like it was going to break. Like, what's that going to do to people's PS4s?
No, brutal.
But
yeah, Switch performance. What do we think? I mean, have they? What do we know spec wise other than 4K?
We don't really know because they keep going back and forth between is there going to be the next version or an upgraded version of the Integra chip, or is it just going to be all through DLSS to get the 4K dock and then it's not going to change on the handheld? So we don't really know until we get the actual official word as to what they are doing and how much of a revision this is. And I mean, I imagine it's not going to be more than 400 because you're really pricing people out at that point. You know, but still, how much are they going to want to have an improvement to the point where it could really make it difficult for people to make those, especially having to include handheld mode, which is going to be such a stark difference. Okay, if we're talking about the dock now does 4K to drop all the way to 720 on the Switch handheld, that is a big difference. And does Nintendo, I mean, they've done it before, but we're talking about Xenoblade Chronicles is a niche game. Legend of Zelda Hyrule Warriors is a Legend of Zelda game, but it's also a Musou. It's not a Legend of Zelda canon game. And considering that Age of Calamity didn't sell bonkers numbers, it obviously has still stayed that way. Those are not exclusive games that I feel like, oh my God, the world. I mean, Xenoblade kind of is because at the time before it got on Switch, it was the only way you could really play it unless you had a Wii.
Oh, we still need X.
Yeah, we still hopefully that comes. But like, I guess my point is like, will they go the route of making some of these games exclusive?
No.
Or, you know, to make sure that you take advantage of the power? Or are we really is it not going to be too much of a difference where it's not going to hurt going back to the regular Switch, you know?
Yeah, or if they give us frame rate options, right? Like if we go back to Bayonetta 2 or something, it might be nice.
Nothing will be exclusive because there's too many Switches out there already.
Especially because...
Well, if they just said, like, oh, Mario Odyssey 2 is Switch Pro exclusive, people would riot.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I'd be angry. Like, I mean, it's kind of like goes part and parcel of what we do. Like, we're all content creating or reviewing or whatever. So it is kind of on us to also stay ahead of the game as far as when consoles come out. But, you know, there is a money factor involved here. And like when you don't have to spend that money, it is nice. Like, I like the fact that I didn't have to buy at all a 1X or PS4 Pro. Hopefully Nintendo will do the same where you don't have to buy a Switch Pro for something. But, you know, Nintendo has shown that they will do the exclusive games thing. So,
yeah,
you know, I'm not like totally sold on that yet.
I'm not ruling out the possibility of a handful of exclusive games. I don't think something as drastic as making the next 3D Mario game a limited console exclusive is going to happen. But I could see them doing the next Monolith Soft game that really wants to take advantage of that power, making that something that's exclusive to that. But for someone who bought their Switch day one, I was in the Best Buy line at midnight. I picked it up, and it's my most used video game console ever. I'm very excited for the possibility of something that allows me to get a bigger, better, more powerful Switch that makes my older games run better. I can replay some games with that better frame rate, get the bigger games that are coming to it with that extra power. I'm very excited for it to release because I will most certainly be purchasing one for myself, give my old Switch to my brother, but I don't think they're going to be putting any huge games to be exclusive to it.
Oh, yeah. We'll have to see, definitely. But I agree with you. If they do that, it will be further in the life cycle of it. It wouldn't be right at launch. Like, I cannot imagine Breath of the Wild 2 would be exclusive to that thing. It'll be like the Light. It'll launch with it, but they won't. They'll make
sure. But there is a game that could really benefit, not from being exclusive necessarily, but just throwing the extra power at it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it might really justify it, even if there's a board. You know, how compromised is then the non-pro version of it going to be, relatively?
Well, I mean, Breath of the Wild 2 not being shackled on the Wii U will help it in the first place.
Yeah,
But it's not like the Breath of the Wild port was not notably better than the Wii U version, from what I've read.
No, but they had a aim for the Wii U, and they did
that's okay. Fair enough.
I think most of its development cycle, well, very clearly, most of its development cycle was on Wii U. So just them not having to deal with that as a background factor is going to already make it be more designed for that hardware.
Sure.
Okay. Last thing before we get to the, well, just really quick, there's a Crysis Remastered Trilogy that got announced. Crysis 2 and 3 are going to come to everything, basically. Yeah. So the Crysis 1 is already out there by itself on a lot of these consoles. So Crysis 2 and 3 will now be optimized thanks to Saber Interactive. And you can buy it all together if you don't have Crysis 1, or you can buy them all separately if you do have Crysis 1. So there's that. I don't know if you have anything to comment, anything you guys really want to
Crysis 2 isn't bad.
Yeah.
Crysis 3 is kind of boring.
I temporarily forgot what Crysis was.
Yeah.
As someone, as Jens, you just did with Randy an entire chapter on Resident Evil Village.
Yes.
What do you think about the director leaving that was in charge of 3, 7, also was a producer of Devil May Cry and that Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection? He is leaving Capcom entirely.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I really dig that Devil May Cry 5, and I thought Resident Evil Village was spectacularly good. So I would have hoped to see where they're going. It'd be nice to have the same person at the helm for whatever they're setting up with the end of Village, which I don't want to spoil. But these things, people change. This happens all the time. So I'm not really. I don't think it'll ruin. It's not like the series is ruined now or anything. But he made some games I really liked. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes next.
Wait, he's working at Bungie on Destiny.
What?
Which is a good use of his talents, apparently.
Oh, no.
Wow. They must have paid him a bunch of money or something like it.
I had not read this far, and this has suddenly turned much sadder.
Yeah. He's
never mind. This is terrible.
A production manager at Bungie, for Destiny.
I think he must have gotten a significant raise or something, because that seems like a step down. But
yeah, I mean, especially considering how successful Capcom has been in the last few years, especially making all sorts of games that are revivals of franchises. People are very happy with their games. They're some of the best selling or most high profile third party games that are coming out. And this guy made a bunch of them, like not only one series but multiple of those new entries in great series. So
here's the thing, though. This guy's a producer, right? We're not talking about the game director leaving.
Yeah. Well, so he is the game director for Resident Evil Village.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well, he's the producer and game director. He oversaw development for Village 3 and 7. So
I remember there being a Japanese name in the end credits. I'm gonna look this up now.
Yeah, I mean, it's either way. I mean, I don't think that it's the end or whatever. It's not. There's always someone that takes the mantle.
Yeah, he's a producer in Village, but he directed other games.
Yeah, Morimasa Sato. So
yeah. The point is, it's always weird when someone leaves, but I think they'll be fine. They know what they're doing. They have gotten this far. Like Tucker said, they have been extremely successful since they started all the remakes and everything else, and starting with 7 just completely changed everybody's view of Resident Evil and putting into a great view again from those doldrums that Randy pointed out in his review that they went through for, from 2012 to 2017. So yeah, I think they'll be fine. I don't know how much about Blizzard. You mentioned that you're a big Overwatch player. So I don't know. Do you always look forward to BlizzCon then, hearing that it's been canceled?
Well, that's a pretty big deal for me, considering how excited I was and am for Overwatch 2. That game has been receiving it's not coming out this year. It's receiving mixed signals about its development. They're changing a very major part of it, and not having BlizzCon to sort of show that off at and really lead into the hype cycle of that game is unfortunate. But I don't think it means we won't get any information. They said that they wanted to still be releasing updates for the game, or updates about the game rather, throughout the year. So we'll see. But it's usually a pretty high profile event. So them canceling it is relatively strange. I don't know how long they've been doing it. I've only become cognizant of it since I became an Overwatch player when the game came out. But yeah, it's strange that they're canceling it.
I mean, they've been doing BlizzCon for a while, but I think they're saying it's COVID related, and I mean that's understandable. You don't really want to be having it in person.
Started in 2005. So
yeah, wait.
Yeah, I mean,
like my thing is like they don't have anything. Blizzard isn't releasing any games this year, so why would they even have it?
Yeah, I mean everything's far off. The only thing they're releasing is Resurrection. Probably, and that's not really enough to be holding a BlizzCon for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you had a lot to show off for Diablo 4 or Overwatch 2, which they're not coming anytime soon.
And people are generally unhappy with WoW at the moment, so they're going to go like, oh, here's patch 9.2. It's like, great, thanks.
Yeah, where did we get the notion that this guy is the game director?
He's a localization director for, like, Revelations.
Okay.
Well, that's a completely different series.
Yeah, this is
not the same role at all.
I retract any concern about this guy's career moves.
Yeah. I mean, I still am concerned that you would go Destiny 2 unless you're getting a big payday.
Yeah, but they probably need a good producer.
Fine. I'm just saying, Destiny
they could use somebody to manage their production process, their pipeline.
Okay, so I don't feel like this is a big story because Nintendo always sues ROM websites and they always win. The only thing I think that makes this one different is that I feel like Nintendo had a right here because he was actually selling subscriptions to the ROMs and promising that they would run faster. This isn't just having ROMs on your site and then, just having them there. This is somebody trying to profit.
Yeah, it's not just somebody being a historian.
Yeah. I don't know if you cover it. I mean, we've had to cover I don't know how many of these throughout the years. So, but Tucker, I don't know how much you pay attention to that side of things as far as like emulation or.
I personally occasionally emulate things. It's not a huge part of my gaming repertoire, but yeah. I have nothing against emulating myself, especially because Nintendo makes it hard to get access to some of those older games. But if this guy was just scumming off things to make subscriptions, yeah, like I don't know why apparently. So the story is what he tried to sue Nintendo.
No, Nintendo sued him.
Sorry, you're right. Nintendo sued. I've got things backwards, but yeah, that's reasonable. And it's not like he had any creative purview. He wasn't really creating anything. Whatever. Nintendo. This happens with Nintendo like every few months, so I kind of just like blink it out and forget about it.
I mean, people really need to don't be surprised Nintendo comes to your door.
Yeah, Nintendo's going to crack down on you no matter how altruistic you are. So you can make a point about, okay, this particular guy had, financial motives, but it's not like this is an isolated case in any way. This is just standard operating procedure for Nintendo. So
yeah. Exactly. So before we get into the Square-Enix thing, I just want to bring this up because it's a nice lead-in because it is a Final Fantasy producer, Naoki Yoshida, who, I mean, we got to remember Japan does, further the mobile market and handheld markets a lot more than say we do. But he is another one of these that is believing that once 5G hits and becomes the main thing, that we're going to, once again, the talk of everybody's going to go towards mobile or towards the cloud or towards whatever, and we're not going to see home consoles because it will no longer be convenient as a way to play your games. Do you believe in that? Like, where do you stand on the whole cloud thing? And do you believe that that will be the way that we play our games eventually? We won't have these consoles.
It's something that I don't necessarily think is feasible to predict. People have been saying this for years, and it's never come true. But also, we've never had streaming like we've had now. And xCloud and all those services, Stadia, are becoming better and more popular and having the large-scale games on them. So it's possible the shift changes. I don't think we'll lose consoles forever. But I've also never played on streaming on xCloud, on Stadia, on anything like that. So I can't. I don't have any firsthand experience with shifting towards that. But a lot of people are getting into Game Pass once xCloud starts to become a larger thing. Maybe Microsoft becomes the first one to sort of shift more focus towards that. But I don't think we're losing consoles. I think this is just another guy who wants to predict the future, but it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, definitely not anytime soon. I mean, 5G is still a thing that it's there, it's getting there, but it's still going to take a long time, and not to mention those rural areas and so many different places. It's going to take. It would have to take governments just saying, "Look, this is important, and we got to adopt this everywhere," and that's just. I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, 5G is a big improvement over 5G is a big improvement over 4G, but is it really a huge enough improvement to warrant
even if it was like completely lag free? Who wants to play a game on their fucking phone? Like
I mean,
that?
it's still right. It's still worse than high-speed
phone.
internet that's tethered, and
Right.
We don't like streaming on that. I mean, I guess people's standards are going to be different on mobile, but again, then you're not really replacing. I just don't think you're replacing the console experience. Especially, you're never going to replace the interface. So.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean,
It's always going to be a different style game.
I mean, obviously, playing on you can play on your tablet, you can play on a monitor. Like, I think what could help a lot, which Stadia is already there, but Stadia is such a thing that we talked about it a bunch, but it feels like we're just waiting to hear the other shoe drop of Google just saying, okay, we're closing it. And even if it just is there as a store, the moment that they said that they're not releasing original games for it, it is no longer really competition. It is just a thing. It is another platform. Whereas if Microsoft actually says what they're going to do and brings xCloud to the TV and brings a Fire Stick thing where you don't have to have a browser, or you don't have to have an app, you don't have to have a smart TV, you just have to have a TV that has some kind of, and have Wi-Fi in your house, and then you stick the stick in there and you have a controller and you can play your game on the TV without having to own the box. I think that could definitely push a step into that direction. And further that, but I think it is still a long while before we replace consoles, because even though they are so heavily online reliant now compared to even the previous generation ones, there's still something about just having that box that you can go to, or having your PC or whatever, that I don't think people are ready to part with, and may not be ready to part with for a long while still. It will have to take my child's generation coming in front of us that is used to everything being available to them right now, this moment, on demand, I think, to really see that happening. So let's get on with it. The last thing we're going to talk about here, Square-Enix to oh man, that sucks. It looks like Tucker's Wi-Fi just went out here right when we're getting to it. But so we got a rumor that Final Fantasy is not only going to have Final Fantasy 16, not only do they have Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2, not only do they have Integrate coming the same week of E3, but now there's a Final Fantasy Origin, which is a Souls-like Final Fantasy that is supposedly coming. I mean, Jens is the Souls lover here.
I'll play it.
I mean,
that's two great flavors that go great together, probably.
That's the game you play as Sakaguchi, right?
But I mean, like, you know, what do you? It feels like this is going to be one of their major showcases for this conference. I mean, like, just hearing that's in the cards. We're making another kind of Final Fantasy title. Do you ever worry that like they're just doing a little bit too much?
I mean, it's all they got. You mean too much Final Fantasy, or just too many games in development concurrently?
No, not too many. Like, yeah, just too much Final Fantasy going on.
No, come on.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to
they always have at least 3 or 4 games in development at any given time. So,
yeah, I mean, I feel like if their idea is to have let's make Final Fantasy yearly, then, and if this hits, then cool, right?
Let's do the same game with the roster changes.
So, okay, we already know 16 seems to be more action oriented. So this looks like it's going to be more action oriented. Are you okay with like the only way we're going to get these throwbacks or to like the Final Fantasy that we're used to is through 7 Remake? Like,
that's an action game also.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like, at least it has some of those properties, right? You can play it sort of turn-based.
I mean, like, the last, like, classical Final Fantasy game would probably be Final Fantasy X.
Well, 13 technically.
No.
Still had turns.
Well, yeah, but it had all that crazy job system, and it was just easier to play, like, auto battle.
Yeah, I mean, not as bad as 12, but yeah. I mean, like, I would like for them to at least have one series one version of Final Fantasy that like kind of adhered to what you're used to, but you know, like you're saying, Mark, I mean, they've gone this route.
I mean, they don't want that. Like, they had to be, you know, like the games they want to make are like, you know, the Octopath games, but that's like a kind of a side project, or like we don't really talk about those. Focus on the big flashy action game.
And that's the stuff I mostly... If you want your Square-Enix RPG fix, you can get that from a bunch of places.
Yeah, like Yakuza.
Well, Bravely Default 2, which I know, Sean, you played.
Yeah.
So that's kind of we made an old school Final Fantasy in a way, even if it's not the same setting or story. But, yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if... I mean, we also don't know, there might still be Final Fantasy games that we don't know about yet. You know, maybe 16 is going to be a traditional turn-based thing. Or do we already know that it's not?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the whole, like, you know, action, item, defend, magic thing is just gone for Final Fantasy at this point.
Oh, you don't know that. They could surprise us at any moment. Square Enix likes to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there is a rumor going around that Square Enix is doing something with Blue Point.
That'd be cool.
That, you know, that perhaps it is Final Fantasy related. They did, if you remember, I think Blue Point made some kind of comment to the effect that the next game we're doing is we're working on a franchise that like they couldn't believe they're getting to work on or something like that.
Remember when Grin was going to make a Final Fantasy game?
What?
That Fortress game? This is like 2013.
Grand Blue Fantasy.
No, I mean Grin.
Grin, sorry. Okay, your audio cut out for me as you were saying the name of the game.
Sorry. Yeah, Grin was going to make like this like Final Fantasy spin-off game called Fortress, like 2013, something like that.
Mm-hmm. I thought that got canceled pretty quickly.
I mean, there was a concept. I think there was like at least some gameplay out there of it, but yeah.
So the only thing I'm looking up this Final Fantasy Origin, which you've brought up, Sean, it is directed by Team Ninja.
Yeah.
So
they make RPG games.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that help with the Dissidia NT.
Yeah, so it's
as well.
I don't know if it's going to be an Itagaki game. So is it going to be?
Well, Itagaki's gone from Team. He's
been gone.
Oh, he's not been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's I don't know. They made the Neo games though. So can we just expect this to basically be Neo?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I think that's with the route that they seem to be going with this. Is like more Souls-like, maybe Neo, more of a darker turn Final Fantasy, perhaps. I can't imagine it's gonna be light and bubbly when you're doing Souls-like stuff, but like, yeah, I'm cool with it if that's what they want to do. If their plan is okay, like Mark said, all we got is Final Fantasy. Then we need to have enough Final Fantasies in development that we can pump out a Final Fantasy every year, because we know 7 Part 2 ain't coming for a while. We're gonna get Integrate in a week or two. About a week and a half. We're gonna get it looks like Origin may come sooner than later, and we still don't know when 16 is coming. So I think for sure we're going to see Origin. I don't think it would have leaked if we're not going to see it. I think they're going to show something with 16. It may be something really short. But like beyond that, that's what we don't know, right? Like, what else do you think Square-Enix can...
I would love to see something Yokotaro related. Maybe another Final Fantasy tie-in for online. I mean, 14.
Yeah, but you'll never play Final Fantasy 14, so.
Well, I don't play it, but I mean, I like when they put out the seasonal soundtrack sets every time an expansion comes out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like, they're alternating all that stuff with the Final Fantasy 14 expansions as well. So
I'm still waiting for the one with all the Nier music. But I always see content about that Nier expansion in Final Fantasy 14. People love running that, and people love the unlocks and all that stuff. So I don't know. I know they're doing a new one. I forget what it's called. The next expansion.
End Sword or something. End. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Endwalker. That's it.
Endwalker. Yep.
Endwalker. Yes. Yeah. So that might be something. Might be cool stuff in that.
I mean, like, I think this is definitely going to be more Japanese focused. I mean, we saw Life is Strange, True Colors at the spring one. All the stuff we saw there. We saw that was much more like American or Western focused. So, like, I think they're going to be bringing out more of the big bangers.
Yeah, I'm not expecting to see Tomb Raider or Hitman or any of that stuff that they're just publishing. I expected first party.
Hitman for sure.
Yeah, Hitman is IO Interactive only.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, split off.
But I mean, like,
times.
Yeah, let's do Chocobo Racer 3.
I mean, I guess they could do something with Tomb Raider. It's been long enough, and they had the anniversary, but I think it's more of like promoting the anniversary than, say, like having a new game. I mean, unless Square is just, I mean, I guess they could show off Forspoken again. Forspoken, right? Yeah. But I'm kind of excited because they could really, they have a lot of like, there's been rumors that there was going to be a big leak of what Square was going to show off, and I'm glad it hasn't leaked yet because they could really wow us with some things. Like, could they give us more of whatever's going on with Kingdom Hearts at the moment? Like, it's been a little bit. So could they do that? I mean, I think that's what's cool about Spur is that there's a lot of open-endedness here. I would go bonkers if FF6 is the Blue Point thing, like that Tucker's mentioning. That what if that's their big remake of Blue Point, is to try to bring that into the modern era, I guess, since that's the most beloved one.
I've been enjoying their remakes of things. I've been playing those Gravity Rush games on PlayStation 5, and they're pretty
plus
good.
The Demon Souls.
Yeah, they've been.
They did the Shadow of the Colossus.
Yep, Didn't get too far in that, but I did play. Was that Eco remake also them, or was that just Sony internal?
A Sony internal, it looks like.
Yeah, the Sony. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was pre-Blue Point.
Hey, and they also did PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale.
Oh, sure. I hear that's actually. I mean, just because that game flopped really hard doesn't mean it deserved to.
Oh no, they did do the first Eco remaster on PS3.
Okay, yeah, that's actually the one I played, the PS3 one.
Yeah, I mean anything from like maybe Square's Past that
Einhander remake.
Nah.
Okay.
I mean Dragon Quest just got their big thing, so like we know we're not gonna get probably anything from there. Like just thinking on the Enix side of things, like is.
Well, we know we're getting more World Ends with You in some form or other.
Yeah, we do know that already has a release date. It's coming. So, you know, I mean, it'd be awesome if there was, you know, an old RPG that they're bringing back, like a Vagrant Story or something like that. You know,
that's one I would like to see. Like they could really do like a kind of a like, you know, Bloodborne or Dark Souls-esque Vagrant Story.
Live Alive. Give me Live Alive.
Oh, Live Alive? Okay.
We never got to play it. It's supposed to be a great classic. Give me some. I can play it on a modern console version of it, or even reboot.
I'd love a Parasite Eve as well.
Oh, sure. I could see Parasite Eve. The only thing with Parasite Eve is that last one supposedly kind of buried the series.
No, the PSP one is terrible.
Hmm.
Yeah, the third birthday. That ruined it. So you could just like reboot it and you like forget all that crap.
Yeah, they would have to undo the third birthday, I think, to make a new Parasite Eve.
But if they just did like a modern reboot, that'd actually be fine. You know.
Sure. Yeah. Like a Resident Evil 2 remake style, original Parasite Eve, that'd be cool. I'd play it.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing is, hopefully don't take up our time with like Outriders or Avengers or if it is like just make it really short. Don't want to really hear that.
Outriders doing well for them. There was a lot of buzz about it when it came out.
It was doing well when that first month, and then thanks to all the problems, and then I think it dropped off really hard.
Yeah,
just dropped off super hard. I think after that, and just it's sad because I wanted to like that game, but there's just, and then the like not having a lot of stuff to do like end game wise, I think hurt it as well. I mean, it's not a game as a service, but I think. Unless they've really got a content plan for it, but I feel like the reception outside of that first month just really fell for it, and you know.
For the conference, all they have was Avengers content.
Well, they've got to announce some kind of Outriders Phase 2, right?
Maybe
like
I guess
some kind of DLC rejuvenation.
Yeah, we could see more from the Project Triangle strategy, even though there's a demo out there. Like, I don't know how much more they're going to be able to show. They did say the game comes out, you know, next year at some point. So, is there anything else they could really do with Nier? I mean, like DLC or something? Or?
I'm not expecting any full. That's why when I was thinking about Yoko Taro, I was thinking about like maybe he could do something small for Final Fantasy 14.
They'll remake Drakengard.
Well, I just don't. I mean, apparently their Drakengard ties in pretty heavily to the Final Fantasy 14 content, and also to the new ending that they did for Nier. So Drakengard's certainly still in the conversation. But I just don't think he'll have a new game by now. I think it's too soon, unless he's been doing something in secret that we've just not known about for since Automata came out. I guess it's a different team making Nier remakes, so. It's theoretically possible. I just think we would know something.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that really want that Drakengard remake or whatever.
If we get Drakengard 1 remake or Drakengard 4, either way, I'd be super excited.
That'd be cool. if that.
Or just Drakengard 4 under another name, whatever he needs to call it,
Yeah, I mean that's my thing is just I like the fact that we're not just naming off a ton of things for Square. Like there's.
I would actually like a home release of that Theater Rhythm game, like the new one they put out.
Yes. Oh, please. Can we have a Switch version of that? Like both of them combined or whatever. Just
I meant the arcade game, but yeah, sure, why not?
Oh, what?
Well, it's the same thing. It's just, isn't it?
Huh?
I mean, it's the.
Is it on? How's the arcade version different?
It adds in a bunch of other music, like Nier.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and other Square game music,
Yeah, it has Chrono Trigger music,
like Crisis Core.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
I think it even has Well Done With You music, and
yeah,
cool. Can you get that stuff as downloadables?
Nope.
Yeah. Well, at least for the 3DS version, the second game, that was all downloadable content that you paid for.
Yeah, but the new stuff obviously isn't in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I just would want it to be playable on Switch, and they did a great job with the Kingdom Hearts rhythm games. So if they could bring that to a Switch and not just have it be on 3DS, because a lot of arcades don't have that game. To be fair,
no arcades have that game.
Yeah.
It's imported as hell. I had to ask the guy. We had to spend 5 minutes to figure out how to even start it.
But I mean, yeah, we'll see. I'm just excited to find out when they're actually going to have this conference. This is one of the ones that we don't know. We just found out the Xbox One. We've been knowing for a while the Ubisoft one, but we don't know anything about when Square's going to have theirs. We know they're having one, but we just don't know right now. So until we do find out, that's going to be it for the show. Unfortunately, Tucker lost Wi-Fi, and it looks like there's a big storm, so he won't be able to return. But definitely go check him out on YouTube, Backlog Banter. Search there, subscribe, get all their content. Go check out that show with John Cartwright. It was really good with talking about sin and punishment. And then just, go follow him on Twitter as well. Just search that Tucker Hazel and you can find him there. And yeah, I mean, appreciate him coming on. It's really great that he got to be on with us. We will be back on Sunday night, where I'm still trying to figure out who's going to be our guests for that one. But we will have one. That'll be our last one before we get to actual E3. And we'll be doing content for E3. We still don't know if we're going to do live watch-alongs. I know for sure we're doing the usual after event podcasts, which we'll do on video now. And then which there probably is, if there's a lot of stuff to talk about, we may do wrap up shows each night or whatever. I'm also trying to line up people, other than, the regular crew here, Jens, Mark, Randy, Daniel is going to be available.
Granted already.
No, I don't take you guys for granted. You guys are awesome, and I'm always thankful that you guys are here. But, just to have different voices, because, E3 is such a huge thing. that.
And I don't watch any of it, so you're right.
Hey. But, I mean, you still get you watch some of it. You just don't watch, everything like we do, which I don't blame you, man. That stuff it's insane. So, but definitely
the Devolver one.
That one's good for a laugh, at least. So
it's not cool informative stuff. Though. It's not, I could watch a comedy special if I wanted to get a good laugh in.
But I mean, they do show off some games, but I agree. Like, you learn more from that conference, like just reading a write-up, than you do actually watching it. So we'll see. If there's surprises as far as somebody else having a conference, I guess we'll find out. Does Switch Pro get announced by the time we have a show? You know what? Okay. If the Switch Pro gets announced, as long as it's not tomorrow, because I think my girlfriend would kill me. But if it's sometime between after tomorrow and Sunday, we might just do like a little, short show on whatever they actually reveal about the system. But yeah, I mean, Nintendo is going to be another one of whenever they decide to show is going to be interesting. But yeah, we got, man, it feels like nothing like, man, it feels like it's right around the corner. E3 is almost here. Summer Game Fest has their like big kickoff show like 2 days before. And then we're going to get inundated with games. Let's not forget that. Ratchet and Clank integrate from Final Fantasy VII Remake with the Yuffie DLC. The Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, the Chicory game that I can't believe they decided to put that out the same freaking week as all those games and freaking E3. That's the game where you paint with the dog, and it's an indie game from the same people who made Night in the Woods.
Oh, neat.
So if people don't know what it is, and there's another game that I think got announced for that week as well that I can't think of right this second. And I was like, why are people continually announcing games? The Game Builder Garage also coming out that week. So, like, it seems like everybody wants to make sure that they're something happen around E3, and we'll be just a week closer. Make sure you check out Jens's Chapter Select with Randy, Resident Evil Village. It was a really good one. You definitely should go listen.
Oh yeah, thank you
to that one.
And I have a public service announcement about the next episode.
Oh, really?
Which is that we're doing Loom. But one thing that I've realized in trying to prep for our Loom episode is that actually the version of Loom that you can buy on Steam is hot garbage.
Oh,
and
man.
You should not be playing that version. So my recommendation, and this goes back to our conversation earlier about video game preservation and whatnot. While Nintendo may sue the pants off people for doing this, LucasArts does not, and you can actually get the EGA version of Loom on XTC Abandonware, and then can just run ScumVM to play it. So it's a very easy game to get a hold of and to run on pretty much any computer. ScumVM is like the easiest way to run an old game I've ever seen. So do it that way. Play the real original EGA 16-color Loom and not the compromised CD-ROM.
What about the GOG version?
I don't know. I need to actually look that up. Let me go to GOG Loom.
Yeah, I mean, it's on there for like $6. I mean,
yeah, and it's $6 on Steam as well. But it looks like, yeah, it's the VG. It seems like every version of Loom that you can legally buy is the CD-ROM version.
Yeah,
which is actually not. While it has voice acting and more colors, I actually think the extra colors hurt the art style of the original game. The original game is kind of remarkable for what it does with EGA. It doesn't have the original music system, and it most importantly cuts a whole bunch of dialogue so that they can fit it. Because they couldn't fit all the voice acting back then. So that's the biggest compromise. So if you want the full story and don't want to miss important world building, go to the Abandonware. If you just find Loom EGA, download, Google that, it'll take you to the right place.
Yeah, well, definitely good to know what's going on with that, Jens, and definitely be checking that YouTube channel. I'm going to have gameplay of both the Kasane and UTO runs from the demo. They won't be in beautiful 4K. I don't have a capture card for that. I'm sorry. My capture card is the Delgado HD60S, which only goes up to 1080p 60. So I'm sorry if it's not the highest, whatever. But we're trying to do more video content for you guys. I'm gonna have some gameplay up with the Wild at Heart as well, and the Disgaea 6 demo that's that's out there that you can download. Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown is there on PS Plus, along with Operation Tango, which I need to get one of you guys to play with me, because that game looks fun, but it's co-op, so yeah. But I think Randy was going to play it with his girlfriend as well, so maybe I can get Randy to capture some footage on that. But definitely, we're going to try to. I'm going to have some written stuff as well. So make sure you keep it locked in to that w2net.com and to everything we're doing, and we'll be back next week, everybody. Sorry for the shaky start at the beginning, but stuff happens. We'll see you later. Take care.